Hello and welcome to the Escape Podcast, your source for all good things in universe and movies. I'm Josh.
And I'm Brandon. Join us as we explore the vast reaches of science fiction, fantasy, action-adventure, and beyond.
How you doing, Brandon?
I'm doing alright, how are you?
I'm good. Glad to have you back.
Thank you for inviting me.
I appreciate you coming out. So, today is episode 13, and we're going to be talking about Arrival.
Yes.
Very recent, just last year, 2016.
Yep, in the beginning of November.
Yeah, I was actually really looking forward to it, but I never got around to seeing it till just yesterday.
I didn't hear too much about it before it came out, and then after it came out, I saw a lot of people saying good things about it.
Yeah, it had really good reviews.
Mm-hmm.
Which hyped me up even more, but I just, life gets in the way for me, and I couldn't see it until just yesterday.
Yeah, I saw it in the theater a little bit after it came out, and
Okay.
then I watched it again last night just to get a refresher.
I couldn't get anyone to go with me. I talked to a few of my friends, including John and Dave. Nobody was interested in seeing it, so...
I had somebody come with me. I think I knew a few people that were interested, but
Yeah.
everybody was kind of busy.
Yeah. So, what do you want to talk about first?
Is there any movie news or...
Nothing much that I know. Logan will be coming out in 2 weeks, we just looked, right?
Yes.
I'll probably check that out eventually. Again, it's not a super big draw for me, but I'm not opposed to seeing it. Right now, it's more about catch-up for me. There's so many movies I wanted to see, just haven't been able to get around to it. You know, I work 2 jobs and just everything else.
What do you need to catch up on?
I don't know why, but I do want to check out Suicide Squad. I know it isn't going to be good, but I don't know. I have to see it. I don't know why.
Did you see Batman vs. Superman?
Finally did. I was not a fan.
No?
No, I thought it was very sloppy.
Did you like anything about it?
Batman wasn't bad. But
What did you think of Ben Affleck as Batman and Bruce Wayne?
I mean, for the one time I watched it, I don't remember having too big of a problem with them. It's just, I get used to, if you look back, we got so many Bruce Wayne Batmans. It's just a different take. I got bored with the big showdown with Doomsday. I actually got so distracted with it. I was like, wait a minute, I'm missing stuff, so I rewound it. But it was almost out of obligation because I paid to rent it in iTunes, so I almost felt like, well, I paid for this, I might as well watch this. But it kind of bored me.
I saw it in the theater, and it's been almost a year, so I'm trying to think back.
And I saw the theatrical version, I believe, as well.
Okay. I remember liking the part that was supposed to be boring, the beginning, when Batman's like sneaking around and stuff. I actually liked that version of Bruce Wayne, where he almost seemed a little bit more like a James Bond type character, going around doing detective
at Lex's
work.
big party? Okay. Yeah.
So that was cool. I wasn't displeased with Ben Affleck. I don't like the way they've been doing Superman in the past couple movies. His character seems more boring than normal. Just no personality. And Amy Adams, who's in Arrival, she's Lois, and I think she's boring in it too. She's got no personality, much like Arrival, but we'll get to that. It was, by the point that they had that big fight, I was already checked out of the movie. I was just laughing at all the stupid stuff going on. Wonder Woman was kind of cool. And then the way they introduced the other characters.
Oh, yeah, that was terrible.
Yeah, let's just send an email. Dear Wonder Woman, here's a list of all the characters that are going to be in the next movie.
Well, I thought it was funny that, for the Flash, at the 7-Eleven, wherever he was, the camera, the security camera, it, knew where he was going to be because they showed one shot of him at the, getting the
yeah,
pop
it's
out
all
of the thing,
edited.
And then just, shoot, right over there and back. It knew he was going to do it, and... the Frankenstein-looking for Cyborg, where that scientist...
Oh,
and he's
yeah,
like,
that's pretty ridiculous.
And then, Aquaman, literally comes right out the darkness into the camera and to the light. I was like, okay.
And then it shoots off. It was just weird. It was meant to kind of get you excited. Here's these characters are coming, and then, so what? Lex had somebody create the icons for all the little superheroes.
Yeah.
And, speaking of Lex, I did not like Jesse Eisenberg in that role. I went in there dead set to hate him, and I was hoping that it'd be one of those things where my expectations are so low that it's it wasn't that bad. No, he was that bad and worse. He basically tried to play the Joker, just way over the top.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest, I'm not too familiar with the original first 4 Superman movies. I don't even know if I've seen the first 2. And I know those are considered the good ones. I know I saw the third one, the one with Richard Pryor, because Dave is a huge Superman fan, and I saw it like over 10 years ago. I just remember it was ridiculous, and I know when I was a kid, I caught Superman 4 on TV, and I know that one was bad.
I used to, well, as a kid, I loved that one.
Well,
Going
yeah,
back and watching it
yeah.
now, I just can't believe how bad it is. It's entertainingly bad.
Yeah, well, there's some bad movies that I still don't mind watching, though. For some reason, as bad as they are, I get enjoyment out of it. And
Not all bad movies are bad per se.
Right. Yeah, I mean, like Star Trek 5. Everybody hates Star Trek 5 and talks about how terrible it is.
Is that the one with the whales?
No, that's 4.
Okay.
That's the one with God or
okay.
something. For some reason, I can enjoy watching it, but I know it's bad. I'm not saying it's a great movie.
Off the top of my head, the only Star Trek movie that I do not like is probably the last one they made. Like, not the new series, but the last one with the Next Generation cast. Nemesis, yes.
We should talk about that eventually. Mm-hmm. But, because I have some mixed feelings on Nemesis, but...
Yeah, there's definitely... I had some issues with it. It's been a long time since I've seen it, but back to Batman vs. Superman...
Okay.
I'm more of a Marvel guy than a DC guy. I haven't really read a comic book since I was a kid, but I go on Wikipedia, I watch all the movies and stuff. So I think from what I understand about Lex Luthor, basically, to put it simply, he's like an evil version of Tony Stark.
Yeah.
Rich guy with technology,
Sure.
really smart.
Yeah.
And that's just not what I got from Jesse Eisenberg.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't know. It just didn't do anything for me. I do agree, though, the beginning was probably a little more interesting, but the big showdown, especially just how quickly they were against each other, then all of a sudden they're just cool with each other.
Yeah, it was
just like, okay.
Because their mom had the same name. Why did you say Martha?
Yeah. I thought, okay, is it just me? Okay, Kryptonite hurts Superman, which is also weird to me. He's from Krypton, but nothing on Earth hurts him, but a piece of his own planet hurts him. That's always been strange to me. I know it's because the yellow sun...
It's amazing to me how much of
formula.
Krypton is on Earth.
Yeah. But anyway, I thought it was weird, because I know, like, in other versions of Superman, like, if he's even, like, near it, he's basically, like, on his knees, like,
Yeah, it
sick.
seems to affect him differently depending from thing to thing. Like, he can become normal human just to being near death.
But in this version, it's on a spear, and he's able to pick up that spear with kryptonite on the end, fly with it, and then jab it into Doomsday.
I just thought of this. Why didn't Batman just, like, put a little piece of it on the tip of a bullet?
Wow.
He's shooting people already.
Was he shooting people?
He had a gun.
I mean, I know
at
he
one
kills
point.
people in this version, but he also does in the 89 version.
Yeah, there's people that argue about that. He was a little more violent than normal, but whatever.
I guess certain versions of him in the comics also, he carried a gun. Mm-hmm. I know the Nolan version was real big about his one rule, but if you look back at Keaton's first Batman, I mean, he threw people off that bell tower. He
shoots the jet out of the back of the Batmobile.
Yeah, he literally, like, races the Batmobile into the chemical plant where basically anyone could have been standing, just got run over. Like, he doesn't seem to care about that, which is fine. I never thought anything of it.
I think the maybe the difference between those ones and this one is that those ones were, like, more over the top, where this is supposed to try and be more grounded.
Sure.
And when it's more grounded and he's just flipping cars over left and right, it's a little shocking.
Yeah. Anything else? Didn't you say something about this Marvel movie?
Well, yeah, I had heard earlier today, actually, that Marvel was in Hawaii filming the Inhumans. They're working on the Inhumans TV show. I don't know a whole lot about Inhumans.
Anything about that.
I guess they're like a new version of X-Men, whatever.
Okay.
So I guess people knew that they were going to be filming that show in Hawaii, but they were also working on another project called The Submariner.
Okay.
Which is Namor, and he's kind of a big character in the comic books.
Okay.
And he's somebody that people have been waiting to see for a while. I'm really excited for it, and I don't know why, because I don't really know. I never followed
heard of
him.
This character, yeah.
I know a little bit about. He's basically Aquaman.
Oh, okay.
Except
Actually,
he was
hear
first.
about that.
A lot of the Marvel, like, you know how DC and Marvel, they'll have similar characters.
Sure.
A lot of the Marvel ones came after DC, but like this one was first.
Okay.
So
I think I even heard that DC had a character called like Captain Marvel or something. Like at one point
Shazam.
Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's right. And then they later renamed him Shazam because he originally it was just he said the words like whatever S and all the letters stand for, and then it said Shazam and
Yeah.
like almost Morphin Time, and now he's just Shazam. I never knew that he was a kid. For years, I never knew that that character is actually a kid who becomes like an adult. And I thought that was kind of silly.
I had heard that he was actually more popular than Superman back in the day, and he belonged to, I think, like Wizard Comics or something like that, some other comic company. And DC ended up buying him because he was more popular than Superman. They wanted to have the most popular guy.
Yeah.
I have old serials. I haven't watched them all, like an old serial collection of Shazam. So I need to go back and rewatch that. It seems like a funny character.
Yeah. All right. So, you ready to talk about Arrival?
Yeah, let's do this.
Okay, so Arrival from last year, 2016, currently holds a 94% on Rotten Tomatoes. It is directed by Denis Villeneuve, I think, who also has Prisoners, Sicario, and the upcoming Blade Runner 2049. Stars Amy Adams. Some of hers is Batman vs. Superman, American Hustle, and I know she was in this movie called Enchanted. I guess that's more of a...
Fairy tale.
Yeah. Jeremy Renner from Hurt Locker, Avengers, and also American Hustle. And Forrest Whitaker from The Last King of Scotland, Rogue One, and Southpaw. So, I don't have too much trivia, just a little bit. It was hard to find a lot of information on it, but I'll give you what I got. The story was based on a short story called The Story of Your Life from 1998. Over 100 fully functioning alien logograms were created for the film, of which 71 were used on screen. Octopus, elephants, and spiders were all sources of inspiration when it came to creating the aliens. The original story had 9 ships called Looking Glasses in America alone, and 112 worldwide, and obviously the film version narrowed it down to just 12 worldwide. The Chinese general, his wife's last words in Mandarin, which they don't tell you what she said, I don't think, it is, in war there are no winners, only widows. And that is the thing that she repeated back to make him change his mind. And there were early talks to change the ending so it would be different from Interstellar.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's really about all I could find. It was hard to find information on this one, so I apologize for that. So, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, well, first I have a question.
Yes.
Have you seen the director, any of his other movies?
I've seen Prisoners.
Did you like it?
I liked it, yeah. I think that's the one, right, with Hugh Jackman and Terrence Howard, I believe.
I don't know what it is. I never heard of it.
I'm pretty sure that's where his kid gets kidnapped, and he kind of goes almost to the breaking point.
I have a particular set of skills.
Not quite that bad. I thought it was pretty interesting. It was a little more of a drama than action, a little more suspenseful.
Okay. Yeah, I'd never heard of it. I had heard of this director shortly before this movie came out. I heard people saying good things about him. But I had never seen anything he's done until now.
Okay.
What were you expecting when you went into this movie?
Okay, so like I said, I heard about this movie a few months before it even came out, and it came out in November of last year, so I was really excited for it because from what I gathered and what I had heard, it seemed like a little bit of a throwback. And what I mean by that is where, a lot of the new sci-fi, it's very flashy, a lot of guns and explosions and laser weapons and big CGI craziness. It looked like a little more, it reminded me, again, based on what I heard and what I saw in the trailer, it reminded me like it was going to be more like 70s sci-fi. A little slower, a little more thought-provoking. Mm-hmm. And I
less
wanted
action
to see
adventure, more
about the mystery, about what it's all about. Kind of like Star Trek, the motion picture. A little bit like, what does V'ger want? What's this all about? And I was wanting something different, so I was really excited for it. Like I said, I didn't get to see it, but I avoided spoilers like, the plague. When I finally finished it, I was a little like, wait, so what, why, how, like, what's going on here?
It benefits from a second view because it's one of those.
Yeah.
It's non-linear storytelling.
Right, which is a big theme of the movie.
And I was kind of expecting to be a little bit like slower, and it was. It was a slower, more thought-provoking movie.
And a lot of it I actually really appreciated. Mm-hmm. One of my examples is I like that the trailer did not show you much, especially of the aliens themselves. You really don't see I think I think you see like the hand, if you will, go on the glass, and that's about it in the trailer.
Yeah, when I saw reviews for it, they almost left it kind of open, like, is there aliens or not? Are they good or are they bad? I should say, were there aliens or not? I think I said that weird. Anyway, I
say things weird all the time.
Yeah, that's fine. So yeah, I appreciated like maybe the first 45 minutes to an hour of the movie. I really got drawn into how realistic they were trying to portray the event.
I agree, yeah. Compared to like Independence Day, and not saying like I have no problem with Independence Day. I know it's not like a great movie, but it's a fun movie. I think
you're talking about the original.
The original.
Okay.
It's a fun movie. It's not. Plus, I think I have the nostalgia goggles on because I was a kid or I was whatever. I was of the age to kind of see that, so I can enjoy it. But yeah, compare like the way like people like I guess because you're seeing more of the government and the military side of it, like trying to like figure out what's going on. And Independence Day touched on it a little bit, but not as much as this.
They tried to handle it as realistically as they could, and they did. It wasn't. It felt like that could be the way things went down if this happened. If ships just started landing all over the Earth.
Yeah.
Did you like the design of the ship? It was interesting.
It was very plain. Which is not. There's nothing wrong with that.
It looked like a big bean.
Yeah,
what I kept thinking was like the half of a peanut. Yeah,
that could work. I know. I guess the books called them looking glasses, but in the movie they called them shells. Yeah, I mean, I didn't have a problem with it. I thought it was kind of cool they didn't actually land. They just kind of hovered.
One thing I do really appreciate that they did was they took their time to get inside the ship, and they took their time to show the aliens.
Yeah. So
they made it suspenseful and made you curious, and you want to see it.
Yeah, exactly. That was actually my next point, is that, okay, they go in there, and they still really don't show their first encounter. Like, you don't really get a good look at them. But then what shocked me, I thought, okay, the second time they go on the ship, we're going to see them. But yet you really still didn't. Like, you kind of saw a little more of like a silhouette, but you didn't quite see them. And then I was surprised. It was, I think, even the third and fourth time, you really still aren't seeing them. And I appreciate that. But that's also one of my cons, is I felt at the very end, I didn't feel like you got a good enough look at them. You saw a little bit, like you saw its arm, if you will. But like that one point where she's right next to it and you see it's like crazy tall. I wanted to see what was up there, and it was all in silhouette. Like, basically, we were only seeing, like, its
I felt like at that point I had a good view of it.
Okay.
I was satisfied with that.
Yeah.
But one of the things
that... I wanted to know if there was a face up there. Like, I wanted to know what's up there.
It didn't seem like they had any facial features or anything like that, or couldn't tell where there may be, like, a mouth or anything. Yeah. And that kind of brings me to another point. I like how alien they made them. Mm-hmm. It kind of looked a little bit squid-like. The look of them was a little weird. Yeah. People are calling them squids. They looked almost like a hand, though. Like a big hand.
Yes, I could see that. But like, sometimes it looks like bony. A spider. When it's knocking its hand against the glass, it looked like almost reminded me of a spider leg.
Yeah. Yeah, like it almost like it had joints or something, or like there were bones in there. And
right, where a squid or an octopus is like, just like rubber, like it's,
very chewy.
Yeah.
So I appreciated that, like how alien they made them look. And I guess a lot of the things I hear is like if there were alien life, the cephalopods, squids, octopuses, whatever, they're one of the more intelligent creatures on Earth, and if they think if life evolved somewhere else, it might be like that. So, that was alright, even though it seemed kind of squiddish. Yeah. But even just like, they didn't understand anything about these creatures for most of the movie. Just the way they even tried to communicate. Everything was a mystery. And just think about, in reality, how weird that would be. Something from a completely different place trying to interact with us. We don't know how they think, how they communicate, or anything. It would be so hard.
Yeah, and I think they did a good job at least kind of portraying, or when she gives the big spiel about, I can't remember, she wrote out a question like, what are you doing here? Something like that. And she was basically saying the reason it was so important to do these little steps is because if they don't like speak or understand what a question mark, nothing will make sense. I can't remember exactly how she said it, but it was interesting. It made me understand and like it, a little more in that way.
Yeah, they had to do that. I almost had a slight issue with some of that, and I can get into that in a little bit.
Okay.
But going back to like not showing them, One of the things that they used to do, at least a good movie would do back in the day, if it had like a monster or creature in it, they would try and hide it in different ways to keep you from seeing, because it's going to look crappy.
Yeah.
They would do their best. They would show it in the dark or behind a bush or something.
Yeah.
And if their special effects looked really good, they would save that big reveal to the end. And that's kind of how they were doing this a little bit. Like, with CG nowadays, everybody just wants to push everything out in the middle, and it looks like crap.
Yeah.
They kind of kept them, like, in a fog, almost.
Which, yeah, I mean, that was kind of cool, because the whole thing about, like, how our atmosphere is different than theirs. I mean, that was kind of cool, and the whole thing about how once we got into the ship, the gravity changed, and then it was, like, almost like they were walking on what was, at one point, like, just straight up, like a wall. That was kind of interesting. Gravity
was different inside of the ship, for sure. They had some kind of control over gravity, and that actually brings me to something I found entertaining in the movie. I really appreciated it when that scene, they get in basically like a cherry picker. The military puts the two scientists in there, the linguist and the scientist, Jeremy Renner and Amy Adams, up on this like stupid little go-kart machine, like something somebody would be stocking the shelves at Meijer with, you know. Yeah. So, so they're sticking them on this, trying to get them up into this thing. Yeah. And I'm looking at the contrast between the two technologies. There's this giant pod floating, and when they get up into the hole, just like atmosphere changes, gravity's all crazy. Like the difference in technology of that ship, and then like we're using this cart to stick people up in there. Yeah. I thought that was kind of funny. Yeah. And I appreciated like the contrast there.
Yeah. So I wanted to bring out some points. So we're going to spoilers, right? So, I mean, like I said last time, I feel anyone that's listening either saw it or they don't care. So here we go. I appreciate that the movie took its time instead of doing it really quick, and that was all great. But here's my issue. They need something from us in 3,000 years, right? That was the main thing. The aliens are able to... Something about, their language allows them to see time circular as opposed to linear, the way we see it.
Well, I don't know if it was their language that enabled them to do that. Okay. Amy Adams starts to do that because she starts to understand their language. And they kind of explain that. I don't know if that was a real theory or not, that people think differently, and by speaking their language, you start to think like they do. Right. I don't know if that would give somebody psychic powers, but they existed in a timeless type of universe. Wherever they came from, they didn't experience time the same way we do. Okay, so here we go. If the aliens have the ability, though, to say, in 3,000 years, we're going to need something from the humans, so we're going to go to Earth now and give them a gift, our language, which will allow humans to be able to see their future in like flash forwards instead as opposed to flashbacks, right? That was like the gift. Okay. One, how is that really a gift? Because I think what the gift actually change anything. I think what the gift actually was that was just a byproduct of them speaking their language. They gave the gift to Amy Adams. Okay. The real intent was for them to get us to try and figure out what was going on, so everybody would work together. Okay, so you're saying the gift was almost peace between nations. Yes, because if they could get everybody to work together, we wouldn't destroy ourselves. Right. But, she ultimately publishes a book, and they show she's teaching classes of teaching people how to read this language. And I think even when you see the flash forward where she's talking to the Chinese general, they show like different banners in the background, and one of them has an alien circular symbol on it. Like basically people besides her can now read this language. So people now can see future events, anyone who learns this language, because the general says to her, basically he says like, I know I have to give you my number or something. It's almost like my message. It was almost like she was able to grab things from the future in the present, and she was existing in the past, the present, and the future at all three times together simultaneously. But he gave it to her. Like, he flat out says, like, basically, you changed my mind by what you said. Right. When you call me, and she's like, I called you. He goes, yeah, you called my personal number. I think at that point he understood what she did and that she would need to know that. Right. So how did he, from his point of view, like, you know what I mean? I guess that's with any time travel movie. Like, how does he know to give her something
she would have to have gotten it somehow. I'm trying to think how to explain this properly.
Somewhere between the point where she called him and they met in the future, she had to have probably explained it to him.
Yeah, that's the part that really threw me off.
Because she knew it was going to happen, so she could tell him.
But was weird in that vision, she didn't act like she knew what was going on. Like, he was basically telling her what she said and did and how it helped.
That was kind of interesting. Like, she had to grab information from the future that she gave to this guy already, but she didn't know it until he gave it back to her in the future.
Yeah, that whole thing is like, what and why. That part kind of messed with me a little bit.
Thinking
it
about
was an interesting
travel,
concept, but yeah, go ahead.
When time is involved in a plot, time travel, it's always really hard for us to think about it. Especially like if you're not a scientist and you don't study these things, just you think about it and you can go around in circles forever. One of the things that you kind of mentioned it a second ago was the aliens came down. Yeah. They said, we're going to need your help in 3,000 years. But they exist outside of time. Mm-hmm. They were pretty specific on that 3,000 years.
Yes.
How did they know the measurement of 3,000 years? I guess
if they knew our language, they put it in a way we can understand. But here's my point.
Well, if they knew our language, how did they mess up the word weapon and gift?
All this stuff, you see, it's like it creates too many plot holes within itself if you think about it too long. Or are we just so simple-minded, it's so obvious, and we're just too dumb to figure it out? I don't know. But here's what I want to know. Okay, they have a problem in 3,000 years that we have the solution to. But if they already know that, why don't they just say, hey, here's going to be our problem. Give us the cure, the answer, the technology, the whatever it is we need so we don't even have a problem in the first place.
Maybe in order for us to help them, we had to acquire the gift first. Maybe it was...
Could be.
That situation in 3,000 years had to have been way more complicated.
See, and I guess it's a very interesting concept, but some of these things is what distracted me from it, or made it, I don't know, because I felt a little, I don't know, I don't want to say gypped, but I felt a little let down, kind of.
It got built up pretty big before I went to go see it.
Yeah, and I think that's what helped.
Yeah, the first time I saw it, when I walked out of the theater, I was like, what was that?
Yeah.
I had some issues with it. One of the things I noticed was, it annoyed me just a little bit.
Okay.
Where I noticed they were throwing a couple political punches in there, and it's like, just leave that stuff alone. Like, I expected it to have a message. A lot of this type of sci-fi has a message, and usually it's always the same one.
We need to work together.
We need world peace. Yeah. And back in the past, it made a lot of sense. Like, we're in the middle of the Cold War, and you're like, we got to stop this. We're going to blow ourselves up. Nowadays, I guess it still is relevant. Everything's crazy in the world today. Mm-hmm. But especially by November of last year, to be throwing out political stuff is just like, I'm so sick of it already. I didn't want to see this movie to get, lectured to. Yeah,
I understand.
And the first time I saw it, I just noticed a couple things. I was like, yeah, whatever. The next time I watched it again last night, and I noticed basically the whole movie seemed like it was one big political propaganda piece. But I don't want to get too deep into politics or anything. That's not what this podcast is about. But it ended up being like the whole message. To me, when I saw
That's interesting because I didn't pick up on that quite as much. But, again, I only just saw it for the first time last night.
It was during that second view that I noticed like they were pushing basically kind of like a globalist agenda. Whatever you think of that agenda is fine, but I didn't want to go to see the movie for that.
Yeah. Some movies, they can bring up contemporary or relevant things and it works. Sometimes I just want to escape the real life world of, and just go to see a movie, It's a fine line to walk with this kind of movie.
It kind of reminded me of Signs, where I felt like it was a bait and switch, where you get in there, you want to see this movie about first contact with aliens, and then turns out that, it wasn't exactly a twist. Some people are saying it was a twist at the end. I felt like that it just wasn't a twist. It was part of the story that they revealed at the end. It wasn't necessarily a twist, like they reversed direction or anything, or tricked you. But the movie ended up not being about really the aliens at all.
Right, about his finding redemption, refinding himself with God and his faith in that case.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, with Signs that was the case, and then with this one, maybe that's why I picked up on more of the political stuff this time, because I was looking to find out exactly what message they were going for. Because the parts with the daughter confused me.
Okay. How so?
Well, the movie starts off, she's telling the story about her daughter.
Yeah.
And then the movie starts, she has no daughter, she has no husband, nothing. Strong, independent woman.
Yeah.
She meets Jeremy Renner and they go do the alien thing. Well, throughout the movie, she starts having these visions of her daughter and
Which
watching
we're
her
thinking
daughter
are
grow up.
flashbacks as the past. It's
They
how
almost seem like
they
flashbacks
want
at
you to think
first.
that. Yeah.
But then once you get a little bit half past the movie, you realize it can't be a flashback.
What point did you realize that?
Because she was single.
See,
Well,
I took it as, before the big reveal of that part at least, I took it as she was married, she had a kid, the daughter grew up, she died. And at one point, the daughter says, how come daddy's not around? She said, like, basically, like, so I just took it as they divorced or they separated or something like that.
Maybe just on the second viewing, because I already knew.
All right, okay.
So anyway, the parts with the daughter kind of confused me, because it's like, well, what about the daughter at the end of this movie? Like, what's the message? Are they trying to say, like, even if your kid is gonna die, you should love him anyway? I didn't get it, and I was trying to think about it more.
The only thing I can get out of it is, like, sometimes it's difficult, but we have to do or deal with things that are difficult, or we know we're not going to win, or we know there's like a greater good, I guess. I don't know.
It was weird.
That's the only thing I can get out of it.
I felt like part of it was set up for more political stuff, and like I said, I don't want to get too much into it, but it seemed like all the men in the movie were useless.
Yeah, I mean,
Except for
they had Jeremy Renner.
He had one purpose. He had one purpose, and that was to give her a daughter. And then after that, it's like, all right, I'm done with you. See ya.
Okay. So again, spoiler alert: you eventually find out Jeremy Renner and her have the daughter, which is in the future. What I found kind of crazy is that basically when he found out the daughter was dying, his reaction was to leave. I was like, really?
Yeah, I can understand him being mad that she knew.
Exactly, because she withheld it from him. She knew the future. She already knew.
But she didn't seem to. It didn't seem like whenever we saw visions of her and her daughters talking about "I miss Dad" or whatever, she never seemed upset by it at all. But like, I was thinking, so what? He decided to make his daughter have a rough childhood because she's gonna die.
I thought that was such a stupid thing to put in this movie.
Did you feel like there was a lot of chemistry between those two? Like they were
not really.
I mean, whenever you see a man and a woman in a movie, you're expecting, like, they're going to end up falling in love. And you could tell throughout the movie, like, he was kind of digging her a little bit.
I mean...
But I never saw it from her to him.
No, not really. I mean, you know, what's that whole thing about, like, dramatic experiences sometimes, you know, whatever.
I guess.
I mean, yeah, I agree. Like, they didn't, like, really put a lot of hints there. But I think that was probably because they were trying to.
I guess surprise you that.
That he was.
Although I felt like even the first time I saw it, it's like, well, you know, he's the dad. Mm-hmm. After you start to figure out like what those visions are, you're like, okay, well, Jeremy Renner's the dad.
Okay.
And it didn't seem like she was too interested in him at all until after she had that vision of him saying, "You want to make a baby," and then all of a sudden she's like super excited, but not for him. It was because she wants her daughter.
Yeah.
It just felt very odd to me.
I mean, but you could also say, I mean, I'm just throwing them a bone here, but like that basically that was just kind of the starting point of something that I don't know, man.
It could be. It felt like
a little rushed or a little just out of nowhere.
Maybe the message that they were trying to sneak in there was more important than how they got it in.
Maybe.
And as far as Amy Adams goes, man, I haven't seen her in a whole lot. I've seen her in The Office.
Yes.
I've seen her in the Superman and Batman movie.
Yep.
And Superman of Steel.
Yep.
And I've seen her in this.
Mm-hmm.
And all three times she has proven to me that she's absolutely a fantastic actress at playing somebody with no personality.
I don't know. I mean, mostly when I think of her, I think of her from The Office as well.
She just seems so boring.
I don't know. I mean, I never saw American Hustle. They say it's pretty good. I haven't got around to see it yet, but I don't know. I guess I
would
can't
see her in more
much.
stuff, but I mean, all three of those examples I gave, she basically plays the same character, where she's quiet, she doesn't smile or laugh a whole lot, just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And it always looks like she's in deep thought about something. And then
I could see that from what I've seen of her. I could see that point.
Yeah, it's just I had no fun watching her.
Well, okay, let me ask you this. So the aliens know the future.
Mm-hmm.
okay, so they opened that door at a certain time to allow us to come in. They knew those two guys were going to put a bomb. And
Yes.
why did they even open the door? It killed one of their guys, one of their people. Why did they even open that door to allow that bomb to be
Maybe
entered?
they had to get her to finally
I
understand
mean,
it.
she was going to be coming up anyway. Do you remember that? That was when her and Jeremy Renner were coming to figure something out last minute anyway. And I don't understand why the bomb
What I don't
injured
get,
the alien. If that barrier was
I'm
there.
glad you brought this part up because
Okay.
that was one of my issues too. Is the bomb? Okay, you have this gigantic pod,
Yes.
gigantic spaceship. They don't know what it's made out of.
Right.
Obviously, it is strong and durable enough to get from wherever they're from to here somehow.
Yeah.
It's filled with alien technology. They don't know how any of it works. They think that a little bit of C4 is going to blow this whole thing up.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's just the whole fear
how-
thing that they had. Because they show how they're watching news clips about...
And how did
Yeah.
it kill one of the aliens? I wondered too.
That's my big thing, yeah. There was 2 aliens in each ship, we learn, and one of them is injured, but the other one was pretty much, it looked like the same distance away. Why and how did... I don't understand that. And again, if they knew this was going to happen, why did they allow that part to happen? Because again, Jeremy Renner and Amy Adams were already coming to talk to them anyway. I don't get that part.
And just like the way that first of all, the radio guy, like, it was almost intelligence insulting. They have this guy, a political commentator on the radio, saying, well, we should show these aliens a lesson.
Yeah.
And then the army guys are going to be like, yeah, we should. So like 6 of them or something go and they put a bomb on there. And then when the rest of the army guys find out what's going on...
Yeah, you hear shooting, they're passing
they're
out
coming to
guns.
stop them, and then they're shooting. So they're willing to murder their companions to try and blow up the ship with...
I guess that's for the greater good mentality that, I don't know.
It seemed like the director had, like, these types of people are stupid, so that's how I'm going to portray them in my movie.
Okay, why 12 ships? If basically Amy Adams is the most important one, and again, they already know this because they can see the future, why even send 11 other ships? Just send one ship to Montana.
It had to be
they knew
world
she was
affecting, I guess.
But, I mean, the world would still be pretty freaked out if one ship landed in any one place on Earth.
Yeah.
It almost seemed like
Maybe
there was no point in that I could
by them
pick up.
spreading out like that, they're affecting everybody equally. If just the one landed, like, everybody was already paranoid.
Okay, I could see that. Okay, that's fine. I'll accept that. Again, they're teaching the language. People are now able to see the future because I can't remember who they said, but they talked about somebody who was able to do that. That seems to me like that would cause a lot of harmful things. If we had the ability to now see things in the future, don't you think people would start using it to rob banks or murder someone that they're mad at or cheat on their spouse or something? Like, it seems like that would cause a lot of harmful problems in this world if people could do that. And it's being taught now.
Yes. That's actually something about, like, superhero movies. I would love to see a reverse superhero movie. Because...
Where someone gets powers and uses it for evil?
Yeah, I'm thinking, like, realistically, you could take a good person and then you give them some kind of power. There's a good chance it would corrupt them.
Right.
And I would like to see that where... I don't know if you've ever watched, like, anime or anything. There's
Not too much.
a movie called Akira,
I know of it.
where one of the characters ends up getting all these abilities.
Okay.
And, he's just been this little guy that's been picked on. And even though he's kind of has, like, this reason to be a jerk after he gets the powers, even if he was a good guy, I think there's still a good chance that somebody would just be like, hey, I can do all this now, I'm going to do it.
Right.
There's all these things I've always wondered about, I'm going to just do them all.
Yeah.
And he kind of goes nuts, and the military has to stop him. But anyway, I don't want to get too much off point.
Right. No, I feel you.
So I agree with you there. Like, if people had access to new abilities and powers, there'd definitely be a number of people that would abuse it.
Right, because they could even see what, again, if let's say they wanted to rob a bank, they could see, like, if they said, okay, we're going to try going in this way or whatever, and if that didn't work, they could see, okay, that's not going to work. And they could just kind of mastermind it until they get a plan there. They see they got it, I don't know. It just seems like it would cause a lot of problems. And I don't know. Just like I said, the whole time travel thing throws me off because, like, some things couldn't be changed. So it's like, I don't know. It was weird to me.
There was something else I was thinking about. I actually wrote down a list.
Okay.
For as much praise as this movie has gotten, and I already felt like it's not all that great, it seemed like it borrowed a lot of concepts and ideas
Okay.
from other movies, and I made a little list of movies that remind me of this one. Inception, Memento, Interstellar, Contact, District 9, The Abyss, and The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Okay, I can see Interstellar a little bit. Run it through me again and give me how you feel it kind of ripped it a little bit.
Inception, because of the way... actually, you know what? Why Inception now? I had a reason. Well, let me skip that one for now.
Okay.
But Memento, the nonlinear storytelling. Have you seen Memento?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Once.
so like the movie kind of plays backwards.
Yes.
To show you the twist at the beginning, which is the end now,
Right,
because it's gone backwards. So I felt like, perhaps this director was inspired a lot by Christopher Nolan.
Mm-hmm.
Interstellar. You get an alien message. It's supposed to save humanity, and then there's lots of issues with time.
Yes.
Contact. Kind of the same thing. Get a message from aliens. Jodie Foster goes and talks to the aliens and gets some kind of message on how to save humanity.
Yeah.
District 9, because, the ship came down, was hovering over the city. And it was interesting watching the world deal with that. Like these giant ships hovering over.
Yeah.
The Abyss reminds me of The Abyss a little bit for the ending. The aliens are there. And they're like, look at what the world's going to do.
Yeah.
Like, why shouldn't we just destroy you all now? Because you're destroying each other. That type of message at the end. Day the Earth Stood Still, same thing. Aliens come down. We're not the danger, you are.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's a lot of like common themes repeated over and over here. Okay. And I felt like it kind of borrowed a little bit from each of those.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I mean, I maybe I need to watch this movie a second time, but I was half and half. I was half intrigued by the ideals, but then part of me was like, but why this and why that, and how does this add up, and why wouldn't we just do this, or why couldn't they just do that if they can see the future already, know things?
Yeah,
you kind of have to fill in your own blanks, I guess, or
the best answer I can come up with for some of that stuff is maybe it's just the way that had to be done to get the right push going.
Yeah. Okay. So how does their language give a person the ability to see time like that? I was also curious about that. Like, how does that work? Why is it that their language can do that? I don't get that.
Well, they tried to explain
I know that
it.
the whole thing about if you speak a certain language, you start to think differently or something.
Yeah, I don't understand how thinking differently would cause you to, be able to manipulate time. But, I mean, that's the science fiction part of it.
Yeah, I guess. See, I knew this movie was going to be a good one for, like, really nitpicking at things.
Yes.
There's a lot to nitpick.
There's a lot of it. To be fair, we're nitpicking about some small stuff. I feel like there's some bigger stuff that keeps it... Like, I don't understand exactly why it got such high reviews. The only thing I think of as far as, like, the audience score, which I think is at, like, 85 or something like that on Rotten Tomatoes, is not too many people have seen it compared to some other movies. And perhaps, like, the smaller audience, there's more people in there that appreciate it for different reasons. I feel like it's one of those movies, too, where, like, they stuck something in there for everybody.
Okay.
Or they tried to, anyway. Like, it's a sci-fi movie with aliens, so guys are going to want to go see it. But then there's a love story, even though it's between, really, Amy Adams and her daughter than Jeremy Renner. But, like, the part at the end for girls to cry at.
See, I didn't really... From the trailer, I didn't even realize what was going on with that. Like, I mean, they do show in the trailer, like, she's talking to her kid. I didn't realize until I started watching the movie that there was the whole thing about the kid was dying and that whole thing. I don't know.
There were parts of it that were cool and that I liked. Specifically, I liked a lot of the shots.
Oh,
I thought
yeah,
were nice,
absolutely.
and the music. Just the build up to, especially when they're flying the helicopter in over the military camp, up to the UFO. Just the way that they shot it in the mountains. You see the fog pouring down the mountains. The camera spinning around the helicopter. You get a nice shot of the UFO and the music. The music was perfect as far as making things a little bit tense. Like, I don't know what to expect here.
Yeah.
Not necessarily scary, but almost uneasy.
Yeah, I will say I never got the impression... I just kind of got this impression that they weren't going to make the aliens bad.
Hostile, yeah.
But I was still intrigued. Okay, well, if it's not that, which it seemed pretty clear that's not the way they were going to go, what do they want? And well, that while as I'm watching it, that was the big thing. What do you want then? Because I think if you wanted to kill us, you would have done it already.
I have a theory that they only came down for Reese's Pieces.
Maybe E.T. told them about it.
Yeah, word gets around in space.
But like I said, it was very interesting, but I did feel a little underwhelmed about some things, but found it fun to think about in another way. It's this weird thing for me.
I guess if the goal of the movie was to get you to think about things, then it accomplished that. Or at least think about the movie.
Yeah, and like I said, they took their time. I really did appreciate that they didn't rush into it, even showing like the whole trial and error of us trying to figure out stuff and things just aren't working out, and just how long they took to show the aliens. But again, it got to a point where I really wanted a better shot of them. I just thought it would have been, especially when she is in their atmosphere where it's almost like it looks like water for her, and she's standing up to it and you see it's even taller than what you saw before when they have the barrier between them, and they just show like the silhouette of it going up super high. I just wanted to see like, what does this thing exactly look like? I kind of at that point was like, okay, you done the whole, you don't quite see it, you still don't see it. But at that point I really thought, okay, I want to see this thing. What does it look like in the full light? And I was a little let down on that, but I know you said you felt differently, and that's fine.
Yeah, I felt like I saw enough of the alien. I thought like when they showed him, when she was actually in the room with it, it looked a little bit different than when it looked like behind whatever type of barrier they had. It almost had kind of like a head.
Right, yeah, that's like when
a big
you see
nub.
it looked like something was going up even higher, but that's when I was like, well, is there a face up there? What's up there?
For me, it's fine just leaving a little bit to the imagination. There was one thing that I thought was funny when they were leaving, and like all the pods are like turning on their sides and starting to go up into the air a little bit. Yeah. Throughout the movie, they're like, we're here to help you. They didn't hurt anybody or anything, but there was one of the UFOs that like knocked down a ton of power lines onto tons of people.
Yes.
And I thought that was kind of funny. Like, as far as I could tell, like, they weren't supposed to hurt anybody, but they probably got some people.
Here's what I want to know, and I see that point. Why did the ships just dissolve?
I liked that.
I didn't get that. What was that all about? Where did they go and why?
Had they just, like, shot them up into space,
yeah.
I'd been like, okay, I wouldn't have had anything to complain about, really.
Yeah.
But I thought that having them kind of just disappear left it a little bit more open. Like,
so did they kill themselves this time? Was that, like, suicide for the aliens on each ship?
It could be a different method of transportation. Like, phasing into maybe a altered dimension.
Yeah, okay.
Alternate universe.
At first I was like, what's going on here? Why are they just disappearing? Because they clearly came from space. Like, right? I mean, they don't show it, but everyone talks about when they arrived, and,
I'm trying to think if they actually showed them.
I don't think they showed them so much, but they showed, like, where news clips were saying, like, oh, one's just landed in Moscow or wherever. One's in Montana, one's here, one's there.
Well, here's the thing.
So it led me to just believe that they just came down from the sky. Like,
let's say that UFOs and aliens are real and everything people see in the sky is legit. Who's to say that it's coming from outer space or from like a physical planet somewhere else? Like, why maybe it's coming through some kind of dimensional portal? Or
I guess.
Like, we don't know.
I just kind of... and again, this is all us kind of just speculating to try to figure out an explanation for it. I just kind of wondered why they didn't say, oh, we theorized they did this or that. I mean, again, it's all... I guess they, some movies fill in too much of the blanks for you. Some movies really don't. They want you to figure everything out and for yourself. They don't want to just tell you. For some reason, this one just kind of got to me. I was like, well, what happened and why did they do that way? I get what you're saying, though.
Yeah. Well, this movie is kind of guilty of both. Like, I guess it left the aliens alien. It didn't answer the questions for you. But one of the things that kind of annoyed me about the movie, and I guess it kind of had to when it was more of a thinking movie, is just the amount of exposition in it. Like, anytime they wanted you to understand something, they'd send Forrest Whitaker in, have him yell at Amy Adams, and then she would calmly explain to him why he's stupid and she's smart.
Okay.
And just to help you understand what's going on in the movie. And it just happened over and over again. Like, it happened like 4 times within 15 minutes.
The kangaroo thing. And
yeah.
Where she breaks down the sentence and all that.
Mm-hmm. Like, the whole movie was exposition outside of explaining exactly what the aliens, like, everything about them.
Yeah. But you said you found a deeper appreciation the second time.
I hated it more the second time.
Oh, I thought you said you liked it better the second time.
There are certain things I like about it, and I was kind of like trying to keep an eye out. But like once I felt like I was being preached at, like, you know, whatever your alignment is politically on certain views, or even some social issues, it's just like there's too much of that. It's you're pushing it. Like those other movies that I said, they all had a message, like world peace, which is fine. We all want world peace. It'll probably never happen, but you know, it's nice to think about. Everybody should respect each other and get along. This one almost pushed it to a deeper degree, and I don't want to get too much into it. I keep saying that because it's not a political show, and everybody gets mad over politics, but there's like a globalism agenda type of deal going on.
Okay.
And a little bit of feminism in there. And if you like that stuff, that's fine. I'm not saying if I do or not, but they were pushing that pretty hardcore if you were paying attention pretty hard, like I was. Or I felt like I was getting that. And then after the movie ended, I'm like, well, let me look it up, see if other people felt that way too. And I found some spots where people were talking about it, and they went pretty in-depth. I guess the guy who wrote the short story that this movie is based on had also written another story about the Tower of Babel. And it's kind of funny that this movie focuses on language specifically as how we're all divided because we all speak different languages.
Oh, I see.
So I felt like that was a pretty strong message of the movie.
Okay. That's interesting. So, how would you grade it? Could you give it a letter grade?
All right. I liked the realism. I liked certain reactions that we got from people that seemed pretty realistic. Some of the shots were really nice. The music was really nice.
Yeah.
The story was a little boring at times. Amy Adams is boring all the time.
Yeah.
Jeremy Renner was okay, although he didn't seem like he mattered in the end. And then they had this sad, sappy ending for no reason with the daughter dying. Like, I didn't understand. What was the point of that?
I didn't care for the ending.
Why have the daughter die? I mean, I don't need a happy ending, but I didn't understand the issue there. Anyway, I think I'd give it like a 4 out of 10 if you wanted to grade it that way. Just the political and social agendas kind of taking over the story ruined it for me. And then the weird ending with Amy Adams not really making me care.
So, yeah, for me, like I said, I appreciate that it was definitely trying to make you think. I can appreciate the time they took to do certain things. Of course, like I said, you know, then there was that point where I felt like they did it enough. I was ready for more. Like I said, it is interesting to me, some of the thoughts it brings up and trying to figure those out, talk it out with somebody. But some stuff I just felt like I don't know, like I said, the whole thing about if they know their own problem and they know the solution is in our hands, I'm assuming they can see what we give them as the solution. So I just felt like, well, just get the solution now. Don't even have the problem. Like, you know, we can kind of come up with reasons why maybe they had to do it this way or had to do it that way. But the fact that the movie makes you either they just don't do it or they just want you to have to figure it out for yourself or come up with possible explanations. I don't know. I just felt that was maybe that's cheating a little bit. Like, well, we can't think of a good reason why they could have just done this if they can do all that. So we'll just let the audience come up with their own reasoning. Like, they didn't touch on that. Like, why didn't someone even say once, okay, she says, doesn't she? I think she tells them, they need something from us in 3,000 years. I think she tells Forrest Whitaker. But once she tells them, like, I can, you know, did she tell anyone she could see the future when she was seeing their language?
I don't recall her specifically saying that.
Okay, maybe she didn't. Fine. But why didn't she say to them, like, hey, so you know what you need from us? Like, even if it's something we invented, well, in 3,000 years, which they've already seen, they know what it is that we invented, so why couldn't they just figure out what it was and invent it themselves? It's kind of like if I could travel back in time and I take a modern gun, a modern weapon to the 1700s, I bet you somebody could take it apart, figure out how to make their own pieces, and start creating them.
Here's an idea.
Okay.
And it's perfectly plausible because, it's left open for you to figure out. What if they're a race of trolls?
Okay.
And they're just coming down and messing with us.
Okay.
Just for fun. Their own amusement. Anyway, so what would you give it?
Gee. I mean, like I said, there's things I liked, but there's things I didn't. Maybe like a C?
So a C and a 4.
Yeah. Let's get the conversion chart out here, and like maybe a halfway thumb, not quite a thumbs up, not a thumbs down, but like a halfway thumb.
So sounds like maybe I disliked it a little bit more than you.
No, I was pretty bummed with it. I mean, me and my wife watched it last night, and
what did she think?
She was like, I don't think she like loved it, but like everything I was like griping about with you, she's like, well, she's coming up with explanations of maybe this or maybe that, and that was like, okay, yeah, that's fine, but I kind of wish they would at least hinted that that's even if they didn't want to outwardly just say, yes, this is what it means and this is why. Couldn't they just kind of hinted a little bit?
Did she get emotional over the movie at all?
I mean, she thought it was sad, the whole idea of, but she didn't cry or anything. What you mean?
Something we didn't touch on. Did you think it was kind of funny that the Chinese were both the bad guys and the good guys?
I didn't even pick up on that.
I thought it was pretty funny.
Well, the Russians too. I noticed Russia was one that hung up the phone on us.
Yes, it's funny. They wanted China to be the bad guy and the good guy, and just, I mean, I guess it kind of fit the story. It was weird how they seemed kind of like world leaders at that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't even really notice that that they were trying to make them good and bad. I definitely obviously noticed that the main guy that was the Chinese general that was going to essentially pull the trigger ultimately was the guy at the end who...
I wonder how much of the money that this movie has made actually came from China.
I don't know.
I know that's something that they've been doing a lot. Like, the Chinese are more open to seeing American movies now.
Oh.
And I guess the Chinese, like rich Chinese people have been investing in movie studios.
Oh.
So a lot of it gets like, there's a lot of pandering there now. Like a lot of the Transformers movies, like they get filmed in China. And, that's why you get stuff like The Great Wall.
Yeah, I didn't see that one, but I know the Matt Damon movie. Yeah. Like
it's nobody's gonna see it here.
Yeah, it didn't look that great.
But they could make millions over in China from it. If they're interested.
Yeah.
I'm almost interested in it if it didn't look so stupid.
Well, the second Wolverine movie was... Oh, no, that was Japan, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean, I guess you got to go where the money is.
Yeah. Just funny.
Yeah.
That's all.
So is that pretty much everything, or is there anything else we wanted to mention about it?
I think I got pretty much all my points in.
Yeah, I think I got mine too, actually.
It was just, there are parts I appreciate about it.
Sure.
I think it was, it felt very overrated to me, just the way people were talking about it.
I guess so. I guess for me it was, I've always liked a monster or an alien or something, crazy creature movies. But especially the fact that they didn't show it really piqued my interest. I liked that it was going to be a little bit of a throwback, not so much just bam, bam, boom, bang, lasers and everything. I appreciated that, and I appreciated even once you saw the movie. Like I said, I thought, I was surprised the first encounter they didn't show them, but the second time I was really surprised. All that I can appreciate, but in the end, some of the stuff was just too up in the air for me to really get behind. Mm-hmm. So I guess it's like, for instance, like The Village. I liked that movie up until the point where you find out it's all the modern day, it's all fake.
Spoilers! I haven't seen it yet.
Seriously?
I seriously haven't seen it, but I already knew people spoiled it.
Oh, okay.
Same thing with The Sixth Sense. Everybody spoiled it before I got a chance to see it, so I figured why.
Okay. But yeah, that movie was actually really interesting to me up until that point, and I was like, what a letdown. And I almost like, why couldn't there be another cut of that movie where it's all true, it's all real? And I don't know. I just, like I said, so the same thing. This movie was interesting and cool up to a point, but then kind of a letdown for me. I do think it's also a little bit overhyped.
So I guess our opinions are somewhat in the minority here.
Yeah, I guess so, because I was like, so this is the movie I was waiting on. Mm-hmm. This is the movie I just was like, oh man, I can't wait to see. I was like, oh yeah, it came out Tuesday for streaming, but I can't watch it till Friday because I got 2 jobs, and that's my...
Yeah, I was trying to look it up yesterday, and there are people that echo what we're saying.
Okay.
But, yeah, I guess we're in the minority.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Hey, if you guys out there love the movie, that's great.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, I'm not saying anybody's wrong for liking something or disliking something. That's fine. But we're here to talk about what we think.
Yes.
If anyone wants to write in and tell us why we're wrong, feel free to do so.
Yes, please do.
Yeah, so I guess that's it. We graded it. So I'd like to thank everyone for listening.
Do you want to give out contact info?
I will. You can get us on Facebook and Podomatic at Escape Podcast 16, and you can email us at escapepodcast16@gmail, and you can also search for us on iTunes. And any subscribing, sharing, playing, listening, commenting,
Any
rating.
movie requests too.
Yeah, movie requests, that would be cool. Any criticism, any questions. I definitely was talking to Brandon earlier. I'd like to do something really different for the next episode. Kind of not just on one movie. I thought it might be kind of nice to do something a little different. I don't know.
I like the idea.
I don't know if it's going to work out. It's going to be a little bit of it's a bigger endeavor to do that one. So I don't know if it will have a next episode, but maybe the episode after that or something. I don't know.
We would know already if we were Amy Adams.
Yeah. Let's find out if she could tell us. If she could read the circles.
Right.
Well, Brandon, I appreciate you coming over. Sorry about all the confusion earlier.
Thank you.
Anyway, so thanks y'all for listening, and have a good week.
Bye-bye.
We'll catch you next time.